dedications in 11. We really
Alex real cool, short sleeve shirt.
yeah, exactly. And I'm the county manager here in Caldwell County, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to a historic day in Caldwell County and the city of Lenoir. You know, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights are a central part of our lives, and now they are physically a central part of our community. These documents provide us with a framework for our society. It's only fitting that we provide them a place to be reviewed and reviewed. The July 4th Declaration of Independence announced to the world we would be independent and sovereign and no longer under British rule. The Constitution established such things as the separation of power, the rights and responsibilities of the state, and the Bill of Rights, with its 10 amendments, guaranteed our freedoms of speech, assembly, the right to bear arms, and worship. We are very thankful that you are here to share in this dedication with us. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm sure you can tell I'm not Randy Church and I'm not as good a speaker as he is, but I'd like to just welcome everyone here and say how proud I am of these declarations that's being presented today. And this was all a real collaborative teamwork of a lot of people, the city, the county. I mean, it took us, and the judges and everyone in the courthouse. I'd like to really thank our masonry classes from all 3 high schools. They all worked together and done such a great job building this, and we couldn't be more proud to have this displayed here in Caldwell County. I'd like and just thank every one of you for coming out and supporting this. This is a great week for everyone, the 4th of July, and this is something to be really for Caldwell County and the city of Lenoir to be proud of together. So thank you everyone for coming out, and I hope you enjoy yourself today.
Good morning. Good morning. What a special day we have today. And on behalf of the city of Lenoir and Caldwell County, we'd like to welcome you to our Charters of Freedom dedication ceremony. You know, we have so many people here today that we're going to honor in just a little bit and thank for all they've done. But as you think about today, 243 years ago, our founding fathers signed one of the most important pieces of paper in our history, the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration reads in part, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. It's important that we remember the principles outlined in the Declaration of Independence and other American ideals written in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We still believe in government of the people. We believe that every American has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We still believe in freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, religion, and the freedom of press. It is fitting that our charters be located beside our historic courthouse and on these grounds. Our first courthouse stood in the square right straight across the street and was built in 1842, right after the founding of Caldwell County and the town of Lenoir. The courthouse was then torn down, and the bricks from that courthouse were used to build many of the buildings that you see here in downtown Lenoir. The courthouse was built on this site, moved here in 1905, and remodeled, as you see by the history and the plaques on it, in 1928. and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1979. It's a historic courthouse and the perfect location for our historic documents that we honor today. I want to thank everyone who made this project a reality. Thank you to Foundation Forward, founders Vance and Mary Jo Patterson, for having the vision and funding of this project. Thank you to Caldwell County for donating the land and being a partner with the city and others in putting this together. Thank you to the Caldwell County schools and the high school students who did the beautiful brickwork that you see and you will see more of in a few minutes. And thank you to our Public Works Department of the City of Lenoir for all their hard work, digging footings and building forms, installing lights, putting in the landscaping that you see around, and just hard work. Many thanks to Jared Wright, Director of the Public Works Department, to Dr. Phipps and the school board, the principals of the 3 high schools we'll be introducing in just a little bit, for all their hard work, as it was a collaborative effort and the first of its type on any of these Charters of Freedom across this state and across the nation as being done. Thanks to them, we come down to downtown Lenoir every day and we'll be able to remember our history. We can read these documents, we can remember our founding principles, and we can pass these ideals on to future generations. We'll invite our students to come for field trips to view this, an opportunity that some students will never ever have to view these documents, just like you would see if you went to the National Archives in Washington. Thanks to many others, Kaylin Horn, Kyle Case, and our Main Street Director and Main Street Coordinator for all their hard work putting it together. Joshua Harris, our Communications Director, for getting a lot of these information out, providing the declarations that you get to sign today, for so many others. Special thanks yesterday to Charlie Fry, who came and drew on the square, Folk Keeper Gallery. He drew things to help us remember we the people. Unfortunately, the rain didn't help us last night, but anyway, it was beautiful in what we saw, and thank you, Charlie, for what you guys did yesterday. It was a great opportunity. Dr. Phipps, thank you for allowing our students to be a part of this great project. It's now time as we move on, and I will now ask Reverend Ike Perkins, council member of the City of Lenoir, if he will come forward and do our invocation for us. Councilman Perkins.
Let us pray. Our wise and almighty God, first of all, Father, we just want to say thank you for being so kind to us. Thank you, God, for being so mindful of us. God, as we celebrate this liberty, this freedom, God, we want to realize and acknowledge that it was you that made all of it possible. God, it was you that rose one day and said, let there be, and there was. So God, as we begin to celebrate from this day and up to this day, Father, help us to be mindful, to give the praise, the glory, and honor to you. God, we thank you for the liberty that we have. God, we thank you for the justice. God, we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us as people of these United States. Now, God, we ask your blessing, not only at this time, God, that you will continue to abide in each and every one of us. God, help us to lift our heads up high, knowing, dear God, that we are the children of the Most High God, knowing that we are children of freedom, knowing that we are children who have and can depend on you. So God, bless these ceremonies, bless everything that's going to take place, and God, bless these United States of America. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I turn your attention to the color guard.
Detail. Halt. Left. Face. Breathe in. Arm.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Great job, man. Join me as we recite the pledge to our flag, please. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. These documents represent freedom for our country, and there are a lot of words that you need to take very seriously. But one word is we. All of us together. In our society and in our nation, we have an opportunity to be we and collectively to come together. Today, I have the opportunity to recognize some of our elected and appointed officials. Some of you I may have missed in the crowd because we have a very large crowd. But I'm going to attempt to recognize most of these folks. And as I recognize them, don't just listen to their name. Know that they are there to serve you. They have chosen an opportunity to serve you as this community, to serve this wonderful community, this city, this state, this county. So recognize these names, thank them for their service, and know that they're there for you. We at the Chamber of Commerce have an extensive list of elected officials and folks that are here representing our county and our area. If you would like that list with numbers, names, phone numbers, we have that available for you. Please recognize these folks with me. Mayor Gibbons, Jeff Branch, David Stevens, Ike Perkins, Judge Beal, Judge Brady, Scott Hildebrand, Todd Perdue, Sandy Cannon, Ben Willis, Dr. Mark Porch, Jonathan Beal, Destin Hall, Stan Kaiser, Rebecca Bentley, Rick Shue, Jerry Church, Clay McCreary, Dr. Donald Phipps, Teresa Branch, Darrell Pennell, Senator Daniel, Chief Phelps, Scott Riley, and Angela Kidd. If I have missed your name, please raise your hand so the crowd can recognize your service and your commitment to our community. Judge Clifton Smith, thank you. Sheriff Jones. Ann Edwards. Chrissy Thomas. Thank you. Joe Sims. Anyone else? Tim Hoffman? Hawkins, I apologize. These are the folks that represent our community, and these are the folks that help make a difference in we, the people. Thank you very much.
We've got just a few more gratitudes to express. Perry, would you come forward? This is Command Sergeant Major Perry Snyder, U.S. Army, retired.
Good morning. Good morning. Normally we don't do this, but Caldwell County is the exception. We work right now with 25 counties, 4 more coming out of the ground, and cities, municipalities, American Legion posts, but I will tell you Caldwell County stepped forward. Even though the mayor touched on a lot of this, I want to emphasize it. So special recognition goes out to Caldwell County School Superintendent Dr. Donald Phipps. He was 100% behind this from the very start. He allowed all 3 of the high schools within this county to participate in this, which takes a lot of work on the high school's part because they have to arrange substitutes and I don't know the right terminology, but whatever's going to be taught while they're gone. So South Caldwell High School masonry instructor Scott Settlemeyer and his students, a lot of the students can't be here. Either they're on vacation or they're working summer jobs where they learn masonry. The West Caldwell High School masonry instructor Matt Woods and his students. High Broughton High School masonry instructor Eric Stamey and his students. They're the ones that did the first brick setting done by students in the nation, and that's pretty big. Director of Public Works Jared Wright and his amazing team, nothing short of the embodiment of teamwork and professionalism. They made it happen no matter what. I could call Jared at 7 o'clock at night, way past his work hours, and tell him I needed something the next morning at 8 or 7:30, and he made it happen without question. Just an incredible team. Roger Kerr of Kerr Concrete for donating 19 cubic yards of concrete needed to form the massive cores and foundations for the setting. Lowe's of Lenoir for their contribution of gift cards that allowed us to buy materials as well as discounting a lot of materials way below cost. Chick-fil-A of Lenoir for providing lunches for the students as they worked the setting. Statesville Brick for donating all the brick needed for this setting as well as 3 other counties in this area that are under construction. Cody Bird of Hickory Design, which is the new name for the company, for their materials donation that allowed us to form, or allowed the public works guys to form up the cores and the foundations. Caitlin Horn and Kyle Case, the director and coordinator for the Main Street program, for bringing this entire operation together from start to finish. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am so proud of you all for being here today, for starting off your 4th of July weekend with this dedication. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your Charters of Freedom setting, which is going to be here for hundreds and hundreds of years, and your future generations are going to know that you were here. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm from Burke County. I'm a father of 4, married 44 years to my wife, Mary Jo. I'm a businessman. I have a company that makes industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. I'm a proud American manufacturer. And some of you are getting cool by those fans right now. I wish I had one up here. There they are, yeah. I'm going to tell you a little about the inspiration behind Foundation Forward, which is instrumental in bringing you your Charters of Freedom. I'm going to tell you a little about the setting here, and then a little about what I see happening in the future. About 8 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C. We decided to go to the National Archives because we'd never seen the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution before. We found ourselves wandering down these hallways looking at different exhibits, and then it opened up into this large room. We walked through these big bronze gates into this rotunda, and there were the founding documents on the other side. In chronological order, the Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and the Bill of Rights on the right. And this is when we learned that these are called the Charters of Freedom. Now, one of the things I liked, once you got into the rotunda, there were no lines. You wander around looking at different displays, and when you get a chance, you step up and look at the founding documents. And I'll never forget, the first time I saw the Declaration of Independence, something our founding fathers had actually penned, and then saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge, Wilson, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then when we got a chance to move over and see the U.S. Constitution, first page, and those 3 words, "We the people," I actually got a lump in my throat. I looked over and Mary Jo's wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. Well, a year later, back in Burke County, I started thinking about that experience, and the thought came to me, what if I could duplicate that experience and bring it back to the citizens of Burke County? Well, I went inside and told Mary Jo about it, and she got excited, and we started working on a project. And it turned out to be an educational project. And the scope was to design and build a replica of the Charters of Freedom as exhibited in the National Archives. We wanted to put that in a central location in Burke County. It had to have high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children and veterans. Well, it took 2 years to get this done. Even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county, we ran into a number of problems. The biggest problem we had was there are no prints for the display up in Washington. No measurements, no dimensions, nothing. And we'd only seen these documents once. So after a late night approval from a joint session of the Burke County Commissioners and Morganton City Council, Mary Jo and I got up the next morning, got in the car, drove back up to Washington, walked into that rotunda again. And now they won't let you just take out a tape measure and start measuring a national treasure. But we had a plan. Mary Jo went one way, and I went another. And I stepped up in front of the Declaration, or the U.S. Constitution, and I did this. And I was standing in the middle. So I knew it was about 12 feet long. Meanwhile, Mary Jo is actually walking up to the other settings and turning around, facing the crowd, and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left before anybody started asking us questions. So I tell people, while your setting here may not be identical to the one up in the National Archives, keep in mind it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. We do have our ways. We enjoyed that process so much that we decided to, and it was so well received, we decided to gift another one to Cherokee County in the little downtown of Murphy. The third one went downtown Asheville in Buncombe County. Now during this time, we decided to set up a foundation, a 501c3 called Foundation Forward, because we knew we were going to be doing more dedications. Let me stop just a minute and tell you what the principles of Foundation Forward are. Number 1 is education. We want to provide a good basis for students to learn about American history, civics, and government, how it's supposed to function. Number 2 is access. As you heard before, not everybody can get up to Washington, D.C. and visit the National Archives. It took Mary Jo and I over 60 years to get up there the first time. So we want to provide access in communities for people to visit, see these documents in a proper setting. And number three is community. Having these settings here in Lenoir gives you the opportunity to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect on the founding of our country and what it means. To date, Foundation Forward has gifted 20 settings around the country. In North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, Nebraska, South Dakota, and as far west as Carson City, Nevada. Yours is the 21st setting, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how that fits into the progress later on. First, let me tell you a little about your setting here that we've built. So one of the things I learned in life was if you want a setting or a monument to last, you put more underground than above ground. Your foundation here goes down 3.5 feet into the ground. It is solid reinforced poured concrete, which then comes up into a solid reinforced poured concrete core. Just the foundation and the core of this centerpiece weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. It's then surrounded by 4 inches of brick and mortar There are 6 documents displayed. They're all life-size, which means the Declaration of Independence is a little bit larger than the others. Each is on quarter-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. We changed the font on these so that you could read it, but we left the signatures as identical on the original documents. And it's kind of fun to look for the different founders' signatures. You'll be surprised at some of the size of them. There is an emblem on the front, which is very similar to the one on the front of this podium. That is special. We commissioned artists around the world to come up with this design. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the U.S. Constitution. And the 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments, which are your charters, which are your Bill of Rights. The way we built this, it is built to last 300 to 500 years. This is not a tip-over monument. Now, people ask us, why are we doing this? And we tell them, yes, it's expensive, but it's more important than money. We believe it gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to secure and protect what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect we the people. We learned that we have 2 founding fathers who were very big on education. And as you remember, that's the #1 priority of Foundation Forward is education. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was 3rd President of the United States, actually penned most of the Declaration of Independence. And Benjamin Franklin was an inventor, he was a scientist, he was a politician, he was a political theorist, he was a publisher, and he was truly a sage. He's the one who they would go to when they got stuck on a problem for his wisdom and advice. These 2 believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson in 1789 said, whenever a people are informed, they can be trusted with their own government. And James Madison, a 5'4" virtual rock star of his era, wrote, a people who mean to be their own governors can be trusted with their own. A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives. You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us when we're building these and say, that's all there is to the U.S. Constitution, just 4 pages? And we say, that's it. All of our laws and our government are based on those 4 pages. You wouldn't believe how many people don't know that the first 10 amendments are our Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people here today who are learning that. You see, education. Now, you may have noticed I'm not calling this a monument. That's because it isn't a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to an event or honoring a person. And this is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school system. Imagine, if you will, teachers bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your Charters of Freedom setting for an annual field trip. And while they're here, they'll learn a little about our founding fathers, a little about the founding documents, a little about American history, what happened during the Revolution. And while they're here, they can learn about state and local government and local heroes. This is happening in communities across the country that have their own Charters of Freedom. And the children just love it. If you remember the field trips you took when you were a child, what a tremendous life experience this will be for the children of Caldwell County. But it's not just for the school system to educate the kids. It's also for family members. It is so important that the family be involved with the education of your children. Mary Jo and I had just finished a dedication at Hanover College in southern Indiana. And we were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center, and I saw a guy named Ron Wells, African-American facilities and maintenance engineer for the college. And he helped me a lot, and I said, Mary Jo, I gotta go thank this guy again. So I walked across the campus center, walked up to Ron. I said, Ron, thanks again for all your help. And he said, Mr. Patterson, thank you for this gift to our community. Now, I'm not the best, the most gracious at accepting thanks. So I said what I always say, well, you're welcome, and please make sure people use it. And he said, I've already done that. Last night, I took my son over, and we had the talk. And I said, Ron, that is the best thing that anybody has ever said to me. Our founding fathers were challenged with standing up to a tyrannical empire, the British Empire. They protested, they rebelled, they revolted, they fought a war, they won our independence, and then they set up a democratic republic to serve we the people. They were challenged and they met that challenge. Foundation Forward was challenged with putting a Charters of Freedom setting here in downtown Lenoir in Caldwell County. We've met that challenge. Your challenge as parents and owners of this Charters of Freedom is to bring your family member down, your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, or other family. Bring them down here like Ron Wells did and have the talk. You tell them about their freedoms and rights and how those freedoms and rights give them an advantage over the rest of the world to pursue their passion, to chase their dreams, to accomplish their goals and get out of life what it is they want to get out of life. You do that. And as far as this being a gift from Foundation Forward, we will call it even. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, census zones, and the District of Columbia in the United States. Our long-term goal as a foundation is to place Charters of Freedom setting in as many of those communities as possible over the next 10 years. Our short-term goal is to do all 100 counties of North Carolina and then do all 46 counties of South Carolina so that people across the country are saying, what is going on in the Carolinas? Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities that have their own Charters of Freedom settings, that your children will no longer growing up about and talking about the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights in Washington, but they'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Caldwell County. That's my story, a little of my inspiration, and a little of what I see in the future. Again, I am so proud of you all for being here with Foundation Forward, where history is meeting the future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Riley. I'm the district attorney for this district, which includes Caldwell, Burke, and Catawba County. I guess first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Vance and Mary Jo for what you've done, for your vision, and for your impressive work in bringing all of this to Lenoir. Good morning. I am so very honored to be a part of this dedication today. I've been so excited about the Charters of Freedom coming to Lenoir since I first read about it in the newspaper. And I'm so proud of our local high school students for being a part of building of the display and using their masonry skills. In my office, I have a copy of the Bill of Rights. It's there to constantly remind me of our valued freedoms that sadly, unfortunately, sometimes we take for granted. I'm looking forward to bringing my grandchildren to this very site and explaining to them how Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence during that sweltering summer of 1776. It's my understanding that this display will last for 300 to 500 years. It is my hope that my grandchildren will bring their children, and that future generations will come to this site to learn and to gain a deeper understanding of how our nation was founded. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of this dedication today.
Good morning. I'm Warren Daniel. I'm your state Senate representative for Avery, Burke, and Caldwell counties, and it's an honor to be here with you today Vance and Mary Jo, we thank you for bringing this great monument, this display, not a monument, to Caldwell County. And I can't think of a better way to start the Independence Day weekend than by standing in a line and getting to sign an actual copy of the Declaration. So that was quite an honor for me. My counterpart, Representative Destin Hall, couldn't be here for the complete ceremony, but I know he sends his regards to all of you as well. And I just, I'm so thankful that we'll have this not only in Burke County, but now in Caldwell County for all of our citizens to enjoy and to recognize and learn about where their freedoms came from. Happy 4th of July, and thank you for having me here today.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Beal. I'm a resident of Caldwell County. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm going to speak for just a moment on behalf of not only the judiciary of the state of North Carolina, but also on behalf of the Caldwell Heritage Museum. You know, law and history are part of the same seamless web of life. So I think it's appropriate to talk about both of them for just a few minutes. I want to talk about some of the events that emphasize what has already been said. Mr. Moore's emphasis on the word we, and Mr. Patterson's emphasis on education, and Mr. Patterson's mentioning of the fact that we need to be willing to be a part of history. This is true. These documents are not just old documents that some group of men thought up hundreds of years ago. They are living, breathing guides to our way of life, and they always have been. Let me tell you just a little bit of history now. In 1787, the Constitution was drafted by a group of men in Philadelphia at a convention of 55 leaders from 12 of the states, including North Carolina. There were several delegates from North Carolina at that meeting who participated. William Blount, Richard Speight, Dr. Hugh Williamson, William Davie, and Alexander Martin. A drafted constitution was sent out to the states for ratification. The North Carolina General Assembly, which was then, of course, under the Articles of Confederation, but it was our state's legislative body, called for a convention to be held in Hillsborough, and delegates to that convention were chosen from amongst the leaders of the state and included General William Lenoir. Now, General Lenoir and others were unhappy with the proposed Constitution because at that time it did not include anything about religious freedom. So that convention held in Hillsborough adjourned without any action. In 1789, 230 years ago, a second constitutional convention met in Fayetteville to again consider the ratification of the Constitution. It had been accepted by certain states, but not by North Carolina. But at the time that second meeting was held in Fayetteville, a Bill of Rights had been added to that Constitution. And suddenly, the opposition of General William Lenoir and of all the other opponents of the first drafted Constitution disappeared. They were concerned for those rights to be stated in writing, not in words, but in writing. And they wanted to include freedom of religion. Now let's talk a minute about the history that reaches us in regard to the Declaration of Independence. In her book, Here Will I Dwell, Nancy Alexander reports on a celebration at Tucker's Barn. Mayor, where was Tucker's Barn?
Norwood Street.
On the bottom of Norwood Street. That was a festival area. And 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was published. At that celebration, veterans of the American Revolution and the War of 1812 were honored. General William Lenoir read the Declaration of Independence. Parson Robert Miller blessed the food. There was feasting on barbecue, and there was dancing. Patrick Crouch was there, Kay was not. And here we are, 243 years after the Declaration's publication, and we are about to celebrate that document tomorrow. Now, the framers of the Constitution, of the Declaration, of Independence and the Bill of Rights and the convention members of the states put into their noble tasks their faith in the rule of law, their hope for a new nation, and their love for freedom. Many of us, many of you here, have taken an oath to protect, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the United States, including me, as soldiers, as elected public officials, and as appointed officers of local, state, and federal government. I've taken that oath many times. Judge Brady has taken that oath many times. The judges have taken that oath many times, and those of you who have been elected have also taken that many times, and the appointed officials that are present have done so also. You don't take that oath lightly. Many men and women have shed blood and sacrificed their health and their lives in loyalty to this nation. Those people amongst them are people of Caldwell County. Men like Sergeant Walter Scott, a World War II African-American infantry soldier in France who went behind enemy lines to find and gather intelligence, bring it back to the generals, and for that he was awarded the Croix de Guerre from the nation of France for his heroism and bravery. We celebrate these people. We celebrate these times. I want to encourage you to learn more about your history. This is your history. Whether you are born here or whether you are from somewhere else, we're glad you came as soon as you could, and including those of you who come from other parts of the world, such as Jose Melendez, who 1 year ago became a citizen of the United States after 10 years of his efforts and applications, and he lives with us in this community as a member of our community and as a citizen of the United States. And we're proud of Jose. We're proud of all of the efforts and the history of you and wherever you came from, but we want you to learn about it at the museum, which is only a few blocks from here. If you are a member of the staff of the museum or a board member or former board member, stand or raise your hands, please. Kaylin Horn over here is one. Just look around and you'll see the members of the board of directors, the board of trustees of the museum. It's our pleasure to be a treasure house of history for you. Please come see us. I think we have some yellow cards you'll receive to remind you of that. This is your history now, whether you came here from somewhere else or you live here from birth. This is your history. Thank you for allowing me to be with you, and have a wonderful 4th of July celebration. Thank you, Mr. Patterson, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, for your efforts to put these documents here.
My name is Bob Brady. I'm the retired Chief District Court Judge for the 25th Judicial District, which includes Burke, Caldwell, and Catawba counties. It's my privilege to be here today, and my privilege to have served in Caldwell County for 28 years. And during all that time, I've never ceased to be amazed at the foresight and the wisdom of our founding fathers in the creation of these documents to my right. It's now our challenge to familiarize ourselves with those documents and to live those documents, to live our lives in accordance with those documents. It's not always easy, but it's certainly essential. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, and thank you for being here.
All right, if I have any little flowers in my head, please let me know. Will Commissioner Jeff Branch and Mayor Joe Gibbons please come forward? And Mary Jo. The Charters of Freedom setting, located at 216 Main Street, Northwest Lenoir, North Carolina, is hereby gifted from Vance and Mary Jo Anderson of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Caldwell County, North Carolina. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting, displaying the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, are hereby transferred to Caldwell County this day, July 3rd, 2019.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you, Vance and Mary Jo. We accept this with all the gratitude that we can tell you. We're so excited. We've loved this project since it started. It's been a great cooperative effort with so many people, and to be the first one that had our school system and the masonry classes, to be a part of it is a great honor for us. So we're honored to accept this and to enjoy it. Hopefully every day you can come through downtown Lenoir and stop by here. I know so many people will want to come by and see it, so we do accept it. And we are honored to be a part of this very special day, and especially on July the 3rd, 2019, the day before the Declaration of Independence was officially adopted, declaring the freedom of our country. So we are honored to be a part of that. I think at this time we are going to have talk about the time capsule and do a little volley. So don't get excited when you hear some noise here in a few minutes with some cannon fire getting ready to go on. So I'll bring Mr. Patterson back up and we will move forward with our program.
All right, as said, we just got two more things to do. One is I want to tell you a little about the time capsule in the back. While I'm doing that, will the cannoneers please report over to the cannon site with Perry Snyder. There is a vault in the back of this center setting. In that vault will go a time capsule, and the time capsule will contain, well, all your signatures, so be sure and sign up over here. It'll contain letters from the education group here, from the county commissioners, from the mayor, from veterans group, law enforcement. There'll be one from me in there, and a few other memorabilia from this era. Certainly a recording of what's going on here today. It'll then be sealed and not opened until September 17th, 2087. That's the 300th anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. All time capsules around the country will be open the same day. So it should be a fairly interesting event when they start reading those letters. We don't read any of them, so I tell people, please do not say anything that's going to make us look foolish. Now, if you're here when that time capsule is opened and there's any problem, keep in mind we gave the combination to Mayor Gibbons. All right. As I said, we're going to do a cannon salute. And I knew I wanted to do this when we did the first dedication. First dedication was 5 years ago yesterday on July 3rd in Burke County. And I knew I wanted to do this cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. I knew 21 wasn't right, so I did a little research. And I learned that the cannon salute began back in the 1600s. A ship pulling into port didn't know whether the port was friendly or not, and they didn't know whether the ship was friendly. So the ship would turn its guns to sea and discharge 7 rounds. Now, 2 things happen when you discharge a weapon. 1, it weakens your position, and 2, it shows respect for the other side. Well, the port would then answer, having more cannon and more powder, they would answer 3 in kind, and that's where we come up with a 21-gun salute. Well, again, I knew that wasn't proper, so I remembered that I've done business in Scotland, and being in Edinburgh, we were told the story how the Scots liked how the British marked the time of day, that at noon they would fire their cannons, 12 rounds, so that the ship's captains and the clock and the shop owners could set their clocks. Well, the Scottish, being Scottish, and that is my heritage, reasoned, why shoot 12 rounds at 12 o'clock? We could wait 1 hour and shoot 1 round and save 11 rounds. And so every day at 1 o'clock, there's a howitzer in the old castle that goes off. So I knew my number was somewhere between 1 and 21, and I decided on 7, partly because of history and also because there are 7 articles in the U.S. Constitution. We will fire 1 round for each article. Will my drummers please come up? My drummers today are Patrick and Kay Crouch. Are my cannoneers ready? Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the Declaration of Independence. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets up the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, the legislative, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses ratification, declares that the United States Constitution should take effect if 9 of 13 states ratify. Children, veterans, and citizens of Caldwell County, I give you your charters of freedom.
I hope you'll come by and take a great look at these beautiful pieces here on our courthouse plaza. We are so honored. Thank you, Vance, Mary Jo, for making this wonderful donation, contribution, and just caring about our state, our community, not only Burke County, Caldwell County, and all of the counties of North and South Carolina that I know you're planning to do this in. Thank you for being with us today. It's been wonderful. I want to say thanks to Kay and Patrick Crouch for providing our wonderful music. They are just so great. They will do and be at any part of functions, and we thank them so much for and doing the drums. That was great. We thank you for being a part of this. We ask you to please, if you haven't had a chance, do sign the declarations on the table. One of those will be kept in the city. One will go into the time capsule. Please sign the other one here that Foundation Forward brought, also that will go in the time capsule. And thank you again for coming out. Have a wonderful 4th of July, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Good to see you, man. That was impressive. That was wonderful.
All right, I'm joined with the guests of the hour, Mr. Vance and Mary Jo Patterson, who has made this event happen, along with many other people that are behind the scenes. Why don't you tell the viewers in Lenoir here in Caldwell County kind of the vision and what inspired this from the very inception of bringing this to the communities here in North Carolina and, of course, around this whole great country?
Well, the inspiration came from actually seeing the original documents the first time up in the National Archives in Washington, D.C. The first time I saw the Declaration of Independence, I just got goosebumps. You know, seeing their signatures of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge. It was just a really neat experience. And then when we moved over and saw the first page of the U.S. Constitution and those 3 words, "We the people," I actually got a lump in my throat. And I looked over and Mary Jo's wiping tears out of her eyes. It was just really an emotional experience for us. So, you know, it was about a year later back in Burke County, and a thought came to me. I was thinking about that experience, and the thought came to me, what if we could duplicate that experience and bring it back to Burke County? So that's when we started working on it, and it actually turned out to be an educational project.
Absolutely. And what was your part in this, Mary Jo?
Well, I've been beside them all the way. And
As always.
I'm basically the cheerleader, and I come up with a few ideas every once in a while.
I guarantee you, I'm sure it looks better because of your input.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I too have had that experience. I took my kids when they were 7 and 10 to the National Archives and went through that experience. And there were, at that time, unfortunately, there was a group there that weren't revering the thing and they were summarily escorted by the security out of the National Archives, and you know, that made my kids stop and talk, and then it made a more reverent moment as we went through and we read that, and they got, honestly, I think it really instilled in them a love. There was literal much bloodshed that went in to seeing that. And there's been much since that time in 1776 when the document was finally ratified by the Constitution, or the convention that met there. And
it just makes such a difference seeing these documents in a proper setting. And that's why we want to put them in communities so the communities have access to it, because not everybody can get up to Washington, D.C.
There will be only a fraction of the people of this country that can actually go to the National Archives.
When you go to D.C., you see the Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, you do all, and then you go to the Smithsonian.
Right.
And many people miss the National Archives.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And so as a citizen of Lenoir, I am so thankful that you not only, you know, made this happen, but you put your money where your mouth is and actually make this happen. And I can't thank you enough for that.
Well, you're welcome, but it's very rewarding for us to get around to different communities around the country, meet the people, and you know, put a legacy in their community that their schools and the families can use to educate their children on American history and how government is meant to serve and protect we the people.
Well, what else would you like to leave with the citizens of Lenoir and Caldwell County?
Well, like I say, just make sure it's used, that you bring your family members down here, give them some kind of a life event that they can hang on to and pass on to their children by educating them on these founding documents and our founding fathers, and then it continues on into the future and future generations. That is just so important.
This has been a great and momentous day, and I want to thank you, great patriots, Vance, Mary Jo. Happy 4th of July on behalf of the City of Lenoir. I'm Kevin Matheson, and enjoy the freedoms, but do not take them for granted that we have in this great United States of America.